A Citroen for my kingdom. Yeah, we got them as far as the eye can see. All parked up and ready to go. Got some new stuff to check out from No Rev. But first, we're going to check out these majorettes that need cracking. Well, just before Morrison's put the price up of their £1 majorette clipstrip cars, I managed to purchase this piece. It's one that I was missing, and it's awesome. It's kind of like the premium before they were premium. They were all £1, and this is what you used to get. Also note the packaging. That's the old style packaging, and there's the new style packaging. Of course, it says "It's a Gift" on there. It's a local shop. Had a load of old Toys R Us stock in it. So without further ado, let's crack into it. They're still known as street cars. The back of the boxes are pretty much the same as they always have been over the centuries. Right, let's check this out. Now this is a lovely piece of work. This is a Citroen, of course, a C5, a Citroen C5 in 1/64 scale. Well, I never. Let's have a good look around this model. Now this is before the majorette in the UK in particular had any kind of notion of making a premium line. Everything was £1, much to their disapproval, I think, hence the hike in prices. But look what you used to get for £1. I mean, this is what, from 2015 or thereabouts, maybe slightly before 2014. As a model, stuck around on the clip strips for quite a while. It's got the little headlamps there inserted. Nice older style C4 front end. Could be confused a little bit with Peugeot, I suppose. But still, nonetheless, very French, very nice looking. Look at all that lovely detail. Look at that. And there's the back end there, Citroen C5 on the rear. Brilliant. All it's missing really is a double set of opening doors. Fantastic piece in this lovely, well, it's gold really, isn't it? Beautiful. And it's got suspension too. Wow. What can I say? Of course, it's got the older style fixed wing mirrors, of course, there. But lovely details nonetheless. Really, really, really cool piece. So what's next? Let's check out this one here. Wow, this is the new C4. Looks a lot like a cactus actually. Funny enough, I didn't get the cactus out to show you. It's kind of deep. I think we'll let Elisio Diecast. He sent us a video to have a look at about his opinion of this lovely Citroen C3.
So let's talk about the Citroen C3 by Majorette. This is based on the third generation of the C3. It debuted in 2016, and it shares the same platform as the Peugeot 208. As you can see here, it's a nicely detailed model from Majorette with all the needed details and attention we care for. There's two sets of headlights for this car. One is plastic, this one is tempered like the original, and there's fog lights here. These are in the real car made of some kind of plastic, and yeah, pretty cool. I don't know how many versions Majorette have done of this one, if this is the first release or not. I think so. And then there's going to be very soon a WRC version. coming in their new WRC line, and debuting this year, and that's going to be worth checking. Very nice model, little bit of suspension, but not much. Yeah, very not much. Scale is 157. Let's have a look at this very distinctive front again. Yeah, very nice model. I haven't had the chance to see this one in the flesh because, well, I was already living in Vietnam when this one came out. But yeah, oh, and I like this on the top also. Very accurate model. And so that's it for the C3.
Next up and last from this little Majorette Selection collection, I'm going to check out this Citroen. Yeah, I got this from It's a Gift. This was overstock from the Toys R Us situation. Boxes on the back are slightly different, but they must have been reboxed or flashed up in order to make them into a £2 car. I believe these majorettes were being sold in Toys R Us for around about £2, £2.50 or thereabouts. This one hit me at £1.25. There was loads of them in my local shop, so I expect in a couple of years to see them at the car boot sale, all trashed up. That'd be interesting. But there was nothing new there much for me to buy except for this piece here. So let's have a little look around it. This is also, I believe, this is a DS4. Interesting, DS in 1/64 scale. So it's a big car. We have the other C4 from before, and this is the DS4. Yeah, it's quite chunky. A good looking car. Very good looking actually. Slightly old styling now for the Citroen people. Again in white, very crisp, and it's using that icy white that they use a lot. So we have up there on the front there, we can just see the DS logo. Very attractive car, and very well modelled actually. No opening features on this one. This is your basic line majorette. Absolutely beautiful, and of course all that attention to detail inside there. Wow. Yeah, fantastic. So there we go. There's the majorettes for this week. Thank you very much, Elisio. Okay, let's start this Citroen story as early as I possibly can in my collection. I'm going to start out with this lovely Citroen Traction Avant. Basically, Citroen released this car in 1937, and it was around for a good couple of years. I think it finished production in around about 1957, just well, basically up until the DS was released, and this was the DS was released to replace this beautiful sedan car. Up front you can see the Siku version, which is awesome, sporting a kind of a late colour from 1953. After 1953, Citroen decided it was a good idea to, instead of painting their cars black like this lovely Matchbox, they would paint their cars in other colours. So you start to see an emergence of this kind of car. Slightly different models to the lovely No Rev. Now this No Rev is depicting a nice early car that you would have seen probably in the 1940s. Of course, if you've seen any good old war films, you would have seen this car driving around. And I think it was during those films that I kind of fell in love with this car. The Germans used to use it as a staff car. And again, after the war, the French used them as taxis. So it's absolutely a fascinating historical piece. It's got a few innovative features to it. Firstly, it's a front-wheel drive car, which means that there's no transmission and other bits and pieces running up the car. It's basically being pulled along, front-wheel drive. The gearbox, funnily enough, is over the front wheels, and the engine sits just behind the front in that sort of portion of the bonnet. And the reason I'm showing you this car first is because it probably is the innovator. They used a lot of the technology from this car going into later Citroens, in particular the DS, which I have in the background there, as you can see. So it's absolutely amazing. It doesn't really say a lot on the bottom. It says it's a 1/58 scale. Interesting. The 15.6 traction Avant. And the 15, I believe the 15 is the engine size. So there's lots of different engine sizes on this, but this is the 15. It says it up front as well. It's got lovely inset headlamps, as well as a little bit of detail up the rear. No number plates, unfortunately. But there she is. Would have been a taxi, possibly, or a staff car, or someone's just general luxurious family car. A nice little low rider as well. It's one of the first of the low riding cars. Step in and sit down. Let's have a quick look at the Seeker again. Always love the shotgun doors on that. There we go. Gives you an idea of the style. Slightly different rear end arrangement. The No Rev depicts a multi-seated car, probably about six or seven seats in there, as opposed to the 5-seater or 4-seater, depending on what you want to do. And this one's got a nice big boot on the back there, nice innovation. And that one there, really, it's just a little opening hatch that's underneath the seats. Brilliant. It's time to take a look at the two CVs, and yes, there they are. Arranged in, funny enough, some kind of historical order as well. Let's start at the earliest date possible on this particular model. It's a 1948 style 2CV. You can tell it's a 1948 because the roll top, which was designed so that people could carry all sorts of planks and bits and pieces in their car. No restriction to the size of your luggage. Now this roll top on this particular model goes right down to the just where the bottom of the boot would be. Nice piece of canvas there. This is a feature that was around till around about 1953. So this is a pre-53 car. And actually made by Hot Wheels, sent to me by Cozy. And this car features in the Lupin the Third. So if anyone out there watches Lupin the Third, you will have seen this car being chased around. I did a little feature on it a while ago, if you want to check back. But there we go, a beautiful little car, and a fantastic little lady sitting in there as well, in her wedding dress. So 1953, the car developed a boot. And there it is. And of course this allowed the passengers inside to remain with some kind of comfort during a rainy storm, and when you wanted to throw some eggs or some hay bales in the back of your car, you could just open the boot up. Still featuring the corrugated bonnet. This feature stuck around till around about mid-60s. There we go. This is a Corgi hollow base. These were special little cars produced. They made a few of them like vintage models. Really like this piece. Very nice blue as well. And then we move on to the Maisto. Here's the 1960 style car, still featuring all the specifications that were required of the time. Of course, this car's famous suspension. Everyone knows about the eggs and the farmers and all that sort of stuff. You could carry them across a ploughed field and nothing would get broken. Of course, this Maisto has got a little bit of suspension there, as has the Corgi, just about. Well, very rigid actually. There we go. Moving into the 70s, we see these little square headlamps come along. A little innovation there to try and modernise the car. Of course, the drag coefficient on a 2CV is ridiculously high. This one does feature opening doors. There we go. You can see inside my little 2CV. See the 1970s style flower on the side. Pretty awesome. I do like this piece from Corgi actually. It's a nice all-rounder. And then slightly later, moving into the 80s, we're still keeping, if you notice the bonnets there, they've all got these ridges on. Designed really to save weight, the corrugated structure there. It added lightness and weight saving because there was no aluminium after the war when these cars were needed for the people to drive around in. They had to invent something new, and of course corrugated iron had been, well, steel or whatever, had been around since the 1920s and was used, well, quite a lot in the French car industry, as we will see later. Of course, this one's got the roll top down. That's a very nice feature. Going to finish up with the Dolly, perhaps the most popular car in the Citroen 2CV lineup. Dolly saw most production. I think it was out of the 4 million, this one was like 1.5 million cars produced in Portugal, factories and all sorts. And still see the Dolly driving around today. Very, very nice piece, available in green and white, and I think there was another colour, red and white, I believe. Funny. Nice and simple. That's the story of the 2CV. So what have I got to show you? This no rev. Wow, let's check her out and see where it fits into the timeline. Wow. Yes, indeed, this is, from what I could research, a vehicle used by the fire brigade. I haven't found any pictures on Google of a real one, as it were. So it could be an imaginary reconstruction. But given the nature of the vehicle, it's was a cheap car to produce. And the necessity for firemen in particular to be driving around in rural areas and the cities and stuff, I can imagine them using a 2CV as their main car. You can see inside there, lovely details. There's handrails on the back there. So given all that knowledge from before, we can safely say that this car is a post-1953, pre-1966 piece. It's a scale on the base. It tells us it's 1/54 scale. Wow. So it's kind of in between this one and this one and this one. So it's somewhere in the early years. Let's just compare it to the Hot Wheel, because oh, there we go. It's a little bit bigger than the Hot Wheel, only just, but it kind of goes nicely with the Hot Wheel. There we go. Look at that. They look good together. There we go. My new Dujavo with an incredible light on the top there. Goodness knows what they did with the roll top for that. Well, I suppose that must be connected to that cross brace that's there. Before we move on to the next feature, I'm going to just show you my Dianes. This is a Majorette Diane rally car. Very, very nice little piece. Goes very cool with the Corgi Diane, and that Corgi Diane was the car they used as a James Bond car. That's a much nicer example. Look at that lovely, sumptuous yellow on there. I reckon that must have been the one in the box. And there's also this other little Majorette Diane. There's some weird one, that one. Would have had a little brolly on the back there as well. Like the steps inside there. Get the wind in your hair. Yes. And going to finish up, this is Best Box that Stephen sent me. Best Box, interesting story. Matchbox didn't like it being called Best Box back in the day. They thought that the cars looked a bit too much like a Matchbox car, and they decided to have a go, and Best Box changed their name to FC, and this became the FC. So there you go, bit of controversy.
A bit of the Gallica flair for you now, and as K5 was doing a video on Citroen, I thought I'd chuck in a little bit of Citroen myself, and I was going to dig out a whole load of Citroens, but I just simply didn't have the opportunity at the right time, so I dug out two, and it's two of one. This is the Matchbox Citroen SM that is from 1971, and this is one that I had as a child, actually, not this particular one, but I always loved the paint job on it, and I loved the surface area. I don't know what it is, it just still has that fascination. It's a really interesting colour. Accuracy of the real vehicles, not bad, and unfortunately this one I picked up, the spring that keeps the doors loaded into position is no longer in there somehow, and that wasn't a result of taking its pieces. So it's a little bit annoying, that. Anyway, so that's a nice, reasonably mint model, and I took one of those that wasn't so mint and I did this to it some time ago. So this has had a respray. The interior has been painted. The spring works on this door, and so it's a more suitable colour. Interesting how that steering wheel, we all moan about bad steering wheels on Matchbox cars these days, but that's 1971, and not I don't know whether they were experimenting, but it's extremely basic interior. So it's got the latest disc wheels on there from Matchbox, and I've painted in the rear light clusters, and front end hasn't had any work done on it. That Citroen intake thing there, so it's quite reasonable. Space has been sprayed the same colour, so it's the same model and two versions of it. So there you go.
So we replaced this car here, the beautiful Traction Avant, with the probably even more beautiful Citroen SM. And there she is in her lovely 1956 styling. This car was restyled again in the 1960s and 70s, and this is where we ended up with this car. Every single panel is different compared to the original, although it still retained all the flavour. Got a few examples to share with you of the SM. This is the Husky Citroen Safari. We've got a couple of those. Way, various conditions. And of course, what would life be like without the whiz wheel version? This one is particularly unusual. It's got skinny whiz wheels on it, metal base, it's all going on. And there it is. Unfortunately, it hasn't got a windscreen, but still in that funny old purple that they like to use back then. Another piece here. This is the Citroen SM Ambulance, made by Majorette. This was redone by Mark. Lovely little piece. It's actually staying together now, Mark. And this is the Matchbox model. And the reason I'm showing you this piece is because it kind of like goes with the old Matchbox Citroen SM.
Oh, welcome MAZAC diecast video in K5 collection. Today's short story is about Lone Star Tough Dots. Tough Dots, okay? I don't know. This is fabulous toy car. Please have fun. それでは早速ロンスタータフトダイキャストメタルスケールモデルを見ていきましょう。スケールは87分の1です。Made in England。スケールは86分の1です。シトロエンスポーツ、シトロエン DS コンバーチブル。とても深い青いペイントですね。ディープブルーです。メタルベース、メタルボディ。Pretty cool driver。ゴーグルですね。ここに私は注目しました。Nice mold, I think. ですけども、とても pretty cute box design stamp。それでこのシリーズですけども、実はもう一つ Once More ヤフーオークションから買っています。同じモールドですけども、ドライバーのバージョンが違います。こちらのドライバーはグリーンです。グリーンマンです。あとは同じナンバー2ですけど、ホワイトドライバーとグリーンドライバー2バリエーションです。サイズを比較してみましょう。サイズトミカと比較してみましょう。This is 2インチ2インチですけど、3インチ、うわでかこちらの方がですね59分の1。大きさわかりますか？お子サイズですね。Very, very interesting piece. This is Lone Star Tough Dot Citroen Convertible Sports number 602。リリースは1968 019。 This is dead stock in Japan. Thank you for watching. クリスさん、あとお願いします。
SM. So if you're a collector of Matchbox and you don't want to buy anything else, you're going to be alright. The sizes are around about the same, and there's a little variation of that. This one's in a bit of it's been beaten up somewhat, but gives you an idea of some of the Matchbox activities that went round. And here's another Majorette SM. Wow, this is an old one. This is the SM was introduced in 1974, so you could easily say this is probably from around about 1976 or 75 or who knows. But there you go, that's an old Majorette that I found. Got the base on that in 1/65 scale. Interesting. Opening doors as well, and good doors as well. If you notice, the Matchbox doors are a little bit shallow, and that's all to do with rigidity and holding the car together. And of course, this is the no rev piece that I have, currently of the SM. Beautiful. SM is, of course, is a derivation of Maserati, because it had the Maserati engine. And here we go. This is my new my new no rev SM police car. It's exactly the same in all details to the old SM no rev that I have, that little gold one that I just showed you, except it has this little blue light on the top there, which is actually factually correct. Unbelievable, I know. Such a small little blue light compared to the blue light that's on top of this 2CV. That would have been more appropriate perhaps, but obviously back in the day, blue lights must have become more powerful. Lovely model. I'll have a look around. All these no revs that I've been picking up in the red box all have rubber tyres. So another reason why I get the red box. They cost about £3.60 or thereabouts, and I've been using a seller from Dresden to get them all. Wow, look at that gendarme blue. If you've seen the last video or a couple of videos ago, I was going on about gendarme blue, and this is why. It's a slightly paler blue to the Renault dark blue. But look at the lovely details around the windows, etc. Really, really nice. And it features all the same stuff that the gold car featured. I believe the gold car is probably one of my favourite cars in my collection, along with this this green Citroen. So I kind of needed a police car from the 70s, I suppose. And there we go. Beautiful. Plastic base, rubber tyres, plastic headlamps. It's all going on, and beautiful, beautiful clear and interior. Lovely. Well, so far so good. Thanks Cozy for that amazing show of that beautiful DS that you had, and 2 variations of a tough toy. Unbelievable. Here's some odd little cars that I've picked up over the time. This is a majorette. It's called a Camargue, the GS Camargue. I don't recall ever seeing one of these in real life. Perhaps it came out as some kind of prototype. Kind of looks like a very, very sporty version of the SM, and I do believe that they were going to do stuff like that with the SM, but due to mechanical issues they never got round to it. This has got a lovely opening feature on the back there. There we go, look at that. Luxury, premium luxury from the 1980s, I believe this car is from. Fantastic. We've got a couple. Oh, here's another one. This is a Matchbox. A little old Superfast, just at the end of Superfast, from about 1979. Well, there it is, 1979. The CX, again featuring opening feature. Hello, look at that little plastic that is. But there we go, for the people that out there that like a bit of I don't know, a bit of fastback estate action. Very much like the SM there, with that little grille on top of the bonnet, and of course that feature goes through to this piece. This is a majorette, very similar car. This is the CX as well, but this is the normal version. So we just compare that to the Matchbox slightly. There you go. CX with and without. Fantastic. And finally, a bit more modern from the 1980s. Well, yeah, 1990 or thereabouts. This is the, I actually drove around in one of these for a little while. This is the Citroen XM. And that's a funny scale, 1/61 scale. It's got a little opening feature there, a little engine, or the semblance of an engine in the rear there, in the front, sorry. Citroen XM. A very delicate boot lid on that one. But funny sort of seafoam green, or blue, or whatever it is there. But it's the only model of that I have, unfortunately. I wouldn't mind getting a better condition version of that. And something that Monsieur Dacast, he sent me this model of the Citroen Zara rally car. I think we're going to have a look at some more rally cars now with Mr. ELISIODIECAST. Wow.
And one can't talk about Citroen without mentioning rally and WRC. And I have here quite a few models to show you, starting with this C2 Andros. The Andros trophy is all ice trophy, so those cars compete on ice. And this is a 157 scale model with a lot of French tempos on it and majorettes, so I guess they were sponsoring the event at some point, or at least this car. On the WRC front we have the legendary Citroen Zara. This one is from the Wales Rally in the UK. I don't know, so probably driven by Sébastien Loeb at some point. Very nice casting from Majorette. I only have this one to show, and I would really love to have more of them, but I also have more of this car from another brand called CM's. And CM's is like Tarmac Works or Kyosho, except they don't do any cars anymore, sadly. But they did a whole bunch of rally cars and race cars, and the attention to detail in these are pretty unbelievable. As you can see, there's even, sorry, the names of the drivers. So the Zara competed in the WRC from 2001 to 2005. Here's another version. I think this one is actually, there's Sébastien Loeb. And it totaled 32 victories and 3 world champion titles. So no slouch, for sure. Look at these details and the antennas. So this is plastic base, rubber tires, very nice. And after the Zara came the C4 Rally. Here's another one from CM's. And the C4 Rally competed from 2004 to 2010 and managed quite a few championship titles and victories also. Look at this. Can we see all the details here? Maybe too close. Awesome. There's also a Hot Wheels version of this car. This one came out in the Speed Machines line, so with the Commode wheels. Pretty interesting model. Sadly, I think vastly underused. I sure hope that they can bring it back somehow in the line, maybe car culture. And then going back to Majorette, I have a few DS3, and those have been competing since from 2011 to 2016. And since 2017, now Citroen is competing with the C3 WRC. Those are also 157, 58, and I have also this one, Abu Dhabi. I really like the work they did on those. one, another Abu Dhabi one. This nice matte gray here. Look at this. This is really perfect. I mean, for what is supposed to be a toy, this is awesome. And it bodes well for the new WRC line. Can't wait to get my hands on it. So there you have it. Citroen Rally. Yeah, a very, very long story.
Oh, thanks, Elisio. That was awesome. Wow. I'm still looking at this one. Look at the details on it. Okay, we're going to show you some oddballs for the final feature. Wow. Next, we got this lovely Citroen MAZAC. It's a kind of little fun vehicle. Not sure about how much of these or how many of these are out there on the market, but certainly looks like a bit of fun. You can imagine coasting around the golf course in this little thing. I suppose you can get some golf clubs in there. You never know. Probably more like a bucket and spade. But anyway, there we go. That's that vehicle. Very interesting. Probably around about the same scale as the other no revs, about 156. Here's a lovely little piece. This is the jumper, again by No Rev. Lots of No Revs today because I just love their Citroens. But this features a tipping bed. Very rigid as well. Very nice piece. All die cast except for the bed itself and the base. This one doesn't have the rubber tyres because it's a blister pull. I do believe you can get this in the red box range though, if you look hard enough. And of course the bed is replaced sometimes by other things. And I don't think this is a fire vehicle. Whereas this, on the other hand, is. This is the Citroen HY from No Rev. It's the last vehicle I'm going to show you today. And I think we need to get it out of the box. So here's the Citroen HY. I was under the false impression that this, because of its ridgy look, this corrugated look, I was under the impression that this was related in some way to as 2CV. In actual fact, it's related more to the Citroen Traction Avant. And the Avant gave this vehicle its engine. It turned the engine around the other way and put the gearbox over the wheels. As you notice the width of the vehicle there. Of course, the HY was produced from 1947 right through to 1981. Very popular vehicle. You could buy it from stock. You could buy it like this as a panel van or as a low loader. There was a slightly longer wheelbase version as well, which was also used for as a car carrier. And again, it's a nice, cheap and lightweight vehicle, and a good carrying capacity as well. Especially after the war, when things were desperate, people needed some big vehicles to get stuff around, and this was the one. Well, anyway, this is the one that Citroen introduced to the range. Now, there's a few features on this vehicle that make it a little bit from the late 60s. The early vehicles featured a split windscreen. They also featured older style graphics up on where the chevrons are. Indicators were out on stalks. It did, however, use the 2CV lights up front there. We've been to the Traction Avant engine and chassis styling. Well, the technology from the Traction Avant. Of course, you can see a spare wheel there stored in a little compartment underneath where it says Savoir Opérer, which I believe is save or perish. That's the motto of the Paris fire brigade, Sapeurs Pompiers de Paris, which I believe is the French fire brigade of Paris. Another feature for this vehicle that gives it its age is that little square rear view mirror, rear window. It was originally a rectangular shape, stretched almost the length of the rear end there. Again, it's using the corrugated lightweight materials available at the time. Would have been made out of aluminium, but back in the day they didn't have any aluminium, so they made it out of this material. So this vehicle is a post-1969 vehicle. You can tell that really by the square mud guard over the rear wheel. That's the main feature that gives it away, and of course that split windscreen. Another interesting feature that makes this a made in France vehicle as opposed to a made in the Netherlands vehicle. In the Netherlands, they preferred to hinge the front door post-69 with front hinges so that it opened in the normal way. The French vehicle has the old shotgun style doors. And there she is. Very nice vehicle. Doesn't say which scale, but kind of goes nicely with the 2CV. There she is. So there we go. This is K5 saying thanks very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed today's Citroen Festival. See you in the next video. And thank you very much to ELISIODIECAST, Cozy Taguchi and Mark Ravon for your input. Ta-ta for now. Oh, hi. Sorry to come back all of a sudden here, but I just found a couple of worthy notables from my majorette box. Yeah, basically I've been going through my majorettes and reorganising them, old and new. This is a lovely old piece. This is the Citroen BX4 TC. I believe it was a kind of pre-rally experimental car. They never put it into production. It's believed that had they, it would have been a rather splendid rally piece. And that was from Stephen Lum quite a while ago as well. It's very unusual, made in France, majorette in 156. Rather splendid. And the other piece I discovered was this little street car back from the Morrison Pound days. This is a Citroen C4. Rather splendid actually. It's about the same scale as that. There you go. Thanks for watching everyone. Oh, and in case you were wondering, there's the C3, and there is the Cactus. That's a little comparison. It's obviously a styling cue that's caught on. There you go. Quite a lot of styling cues off the Cactus actually. It's quite something, isn't it? Ta-ta for now.